Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Thursday, 26th of June, 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Confusing signals sent regarding Venezuela gas deal by new UNC administration in Trinidad and Tobago. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Trinidad and Tobago moves close to Venezuela gas deal amid U.S. talks. Joel Brown of TV6 News reports.
As the House of Representatives continued its mid-year review of the 2025 budget on Monday, Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal made a major energy policy announcement as he made reference to the pursuit of the supply of natural gas from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago by the former PNM administration.
We warned the former administration not to put all your eggs in one basket. The basket fell. The United States government cancelled 2 licenses for the Manakin, Coquina, and for the Dragon Field. The UNC didn't cancel that. We are now working with all international partners to ensure that those matters can be resolved in a way that will benefit the CARICOM territories, the United States, be consistent with the United States foreign policy, and also benefit as well the co-owners of those gas fields.
The present U.S. government, led by Donald Trump, revoked the waiver of certain sanctions against Venezuela by the former Joe Biden administration before the 2025 general election in Trinidad and Tobago on April 28th. On May 3rd, following the victory of the UNC and its coalition of interests, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar spoke about her phone call with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio one day earlier.
We talk about the energy sector, but not drug and gas is there.
You won't pursue that at all in terms of course, water, gas, and Venezuela?
Not at this point in time. Who knows in the fullness of time? All things are possible. But at this point in time, I'm looking at the CARICOM. I'm definitely looking at our own cousins, brothers and sisters in the CARICOM.
More than a month and a half later, in the House of Representatives on June 23rd,
we do understand the importance of the cross-border gas reservoirs. We understand the importance of that cross-border gas province. And we are also working with the authorities in the United States. We are also working with authorities elsewhere, in Venezuela as well, to ensure that we can have some common approach to eventually benefit from cross-border fields.
As for the government's focus on gas supplies from CARICOM neighbors, Minister Munilal made reference to Suriname, which held its oil and gas conference last week.
They are looking at the help of Trinidad and Tobago to negotiate with the international oil companies for bringing gas onshore and importing, and they are also looking to import LNG from Trinidad and Tobago as an option.
Minister Munilal said that Trinidad and Tobago Energy Ministry officials had conversations with the US-based company Fulcrum that is involved in Guyana with regard to their gas exploration joint venture with ExxonMobil. Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
With inadequate sanitation systems threatening public health and fragile ecosystems, Caribbean nations are stepping up efforts to tackle wastewater management. This week, regional stakeholders gathered in St. Lucia for a high-level conference aimed at developing a unified strategy on the World Bank's Pro-Blue initiative to address mountain sanitation challenges. Manasseh Stanislaus of DBS News World reports.
Centralized storage infrastructure across the region remains limited and frequently underperforms, resulting in untreated or poorly treated wastewater entering sensitive ecosystems. These sanitation shortcomings are further exacerbated by institutional fragmentation, outdated regulatory frameworks, and increased vulnerability to climate change. At the conference, stakeholders discussed the urgent need to strengthen key economic pillars and address systemic gaps in wastewater management.
Two pillars of the economies of the islands of the Caribbean are, of course, fisheries and tourism. And this statistic and the status of the wastewater treatment services in the islands has a direct impact. So it's not a topic that we can ignore any longer, and perhaps we've ignored too long.
Gail Richardson, operations manager at the World Bank, acknowledged the persistent challenges impeding project completion and long-term sustainability. She emphasized that with climate change having an accelerating impact on the Western region, decisive and timely action is critical. Richardson also announced a new project to be implemented across OECS countries aimed at resolving wastewater issues.
This challenge on sustainability has to become, the challenges that we face have to become the rallying cry for action now. So in this context, the World Bank group, and Lillian is very much a spearheader for this, has developed a regional initiative and included this as one of our important regional priorities on sanitation and wastewater management.
The framework also tackles cross-cutting themes such as gender and social inclusion, climate resilience, institutional sustainability, and a source-to-sea approach. The accompanying regional action plan outlines time-bound activities at both national and regional levels. These include foundational reforms and pilot initiatives to be launched during the Pro-Blue supported 18-month implementation phase. The conference took place at the Harbour Club Hotel on Monday, June 23rd, 2025. For the DBS News World, Manasseh Stanislaus reporting.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
RJR Gleaner Don Anderson poll reports PNP slips but maintains a slight edge over ruling JLP. This TVJ News item has more.
The campaign trail has been heating up. Week after week, representatives from both the JLP and PNP have been on the road telling voters about their plans and accomplishments, hoping they would put their X beside the head or bell. So the question was put to 1,033 registered voters all across Jamaica from May 16 to June 7. Which of the two main political parties are you most likely to vote for? 18.4% of respondents said they didn't know, and 19.4% said they're not likely to vote. 32.6% of respondents said they would vote for the PNP, while 29.6% said they would vote for the JLP. That's a gap of 3 percentage points.
This represents a fall-off of another 1.7 percentage points on the PNP side, because when we did the poll last in February of 2025, the People's National Party were up to, a 4.7 percentage point gap. So this has now been cut to 3 percentage points. It's just on the cusp of the margin of error of plus or minus 3%. So we're not going to say it's a dead heat.
Pollster and head of market research services Don Anderson also gave further insight.
If we track those kinds of percentages from, say, April, when we did the first post-local government election poll, People's National Party, having won the majority vote in the local government election, then went up to 7 percentage points in April, 9 percentage points in September, slipped to 4.7 percentage points in February, and back to 3 percentage points in this current poll.
So the PNP has slipped in the polls. What does that mean for the JLP?
But what's interesting is that even against the background of the heightened publicity, heightened campaigning that would appear by the Jamaica Labour Party, their numbers have remained flat. What we find where the increase has gone is in the undecideds. And it's ironic that so the campaign has kind of warmed up, so to speak, people are now beginning to sit on the fence again, because being exposed to respective campaigns, they're now saying, I'm not quite sure how to vote.
Of the 32.6% who said they would vote for the opposition PNP, here are the top 3 reasons. To get rid of the JLP, 29%. They always voted for the PNP, 24%. And they want to give the PNP a chance to fix things, 22%. And of the 29.6% who said they would vote for the governing JLP, here are the top 4 reasons. They are doing a good job, 23%. They always vote JLP, 22%. To continue the projects they started, 21%. And they're more confident in the JLP, 19%.
It appears that the election is going to be highly competitive. The campaign, it is said, hasn't started in earnest. We know better than that. The campaigns have been ongoing, And but once the signal is given, or once the information is conveyed that elections are now going to be at a certain point in time, we expect to see a heightened increase in activity by both parties, clearly going to the wire. But I think both of them should be wary of where they are at this point in time. It's likely to be a close election, and I believe, organization is going to be key.
This week's Organization of American States General Assembly in Antigua and Barbuda will be unprecedented in the number of observer countries participating. The confirmation comes from Antigua and Barbuda's permanent representative to the OAS, Sir Ronald Sanders. The Twin Islands state is hosting delegations of the 33 member states of the hemisphere for the discussions, with dozens of observer countries also set to be in attendance. The event is being hosted between 25th and 27th June at the American University of Antigua, AUA.
What is remarkable about this General Assembly is more observer countries are attending this General Assembly than in the history of the Organization of American States. And they're coming from Europe, they're coming from Arab countries, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from Asia. So we're going to have, for instance, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, the European Union, Turkey, Ukraine, Togo from Africa. There's a whole lot of people who have not, and of course China, which is an observer member too. So they will all be here.
Experts say that Antigua and Barbuda is making the first strides towards the ethical adoption of artificial intelligence. The assertion was made during the launch of a major assessment report on the closing day of the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus's second annual Artificial Intelligence Conference. ABS's Philana Johnson reports.
The entire study would have included about 100 persons to get feedback from both government, private sector.
The main statistics from the Ethics in AI Readiness Assessment Report being presented in front of hundreds of delegates at the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus. The report is a collaboration between Antigua and Barbuda and the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. The project identifies the country's gaps, including data availability issues, shortage of skilled workforce, and limited public awareness and engagement. Information and Communication Technologies Minister, Honorable Melford Nicholas, says this initiative determines what needs to be addressed. Minister Nicholas adds, this will draw him closer to the artificial intelligence goals set by the Prime Minister.
He would have indicated that he expects that AI to become a veritable part of the way we deliver education, of the way we deliver our health services, and of course, the very way we interact with each other in the government. The essence of AI is to have good data. And the AI certainly is not going to be the panacea for everything without basic core good data to be able to inform this platform and us having a purpose.
UNESCO Caribbean Director for Communication and Information, Dr. Paul Hector, says this marks a milestone for Antigua and Barbuda as the country is now in the early stages of AI adoption.
It sends a message to the entire Caribbean region and the world. We are preparing not only to adopt AI, but to shape it ethically, strategically, and inclusively.
He also points out some areas that will ensure the country is ethically, technically, and socially sound in relation to artificial intelligence.
It also identifies and underlines the need for a national AI strategy, a dedicated AI governance unit, and AI ethics education.
Falana Johnson, ABS News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.